Okay, we made a comment in the Lance Lynn video in regards to effective velocity about Pedroia being late. Now this isn't Lance Lynn, but let's take a look at this swing because they show a side view and we can get an idea as to how late he really is on this. Now from both of those views, it doesn't look all that bad. It doesn't look like he's very far away from this pitch. It just looks like he's under it. But when we start putting a measurement to it, when the pitch comes into our picture, I'm going to make a line that will recreate the pitch line. So you can kind of see the blur back in here, and that's the ball passing through there. Okay. Now, the way we measure time is his perception of where this pitch is and where he's going to make contact is whenever his barrel passes through that line, because he has amazing hand-eye coordination, and he's not going to miss that line. That's kind of one of those weird things about hand-eye coordination at the elite level. He's going to get the barrel to that pitch line at some point. And when that point is when he thinks he's going to be on time. Where the ball actually is, though, is just about in the catcher's glove. Not quite, but just about in the catcher's glove. We can't tell. It's really hard to tell exactly where it's at because it's kind of an elongated blur, because that's the way it works at with these kind of camera, the cameras that are at the lower shutter speed and are only 30 frames a second. But it's pretty clear that he's late. Now the question is how late. And I made the comment in the Lynn thing that he was 8 or 9 or 10 miles an hour late. So let's look at this. We're going to assume that that's the spot. What we need now is a measurement. And so if we measure this right here, the bat we know is a certain measurement. So let's just assume that bat, we're going to make it a 33-inch bat. Now if we look back at these distances, we'll take the farthest one first. We're at about 81 inches. So 84 inches is 7 feet. Let's just say that that's way too far. And let's take it back to the next one. Maybe even all the way down to 72. And let's just say that that one's way off. And we go all the way down to maybe 60 inches, okay, at 5 feet. Or we can even go all the way down to about 48 inches or 4 feet. And if it's that much, at 4 feet, we're at 6.93 miles per hour late. At 5 feet, he's 8.7. At 6 feet, he's 10.4 miles per hour late. And if he's at where we think he is in this picture, he's at up to 12 miles an hour late, 11 or 12 miles an hour late. So again, it doesn't look like that much, but that's how fast the ball is traveling, and that's the distance that it's covering. So that's how late he really is. Let's take a look at just a couple of other examples, and we'll see the same thing. He looks like he's just under it, just missing it. But the truth of the matter is, he's missed it by a long ways. This is where he crosses that line. This is where the ball's actually at. So he's a long ways away from that, from a timing perspective. Same thing here. We see him coming into this pitch line. We see him cross it right there. We see the ball all the way back there. So that's the distance that he's late. We see this one with a little better camera, and so you can see the actual ball moving the whole time. It doesn't have that same blur. And it's really hard to tell from this angle when he crosses that line. I'm going to say that it's going to be somewhere back in right around here is where he crosses that line. So wherever the ball is at that moment, that's still a long ways. If we just look at his barrel and we use his bat as the measuring stick and just move that into this area, he's at least longer than the length of his bat late. So if we just call it 4 feet, he's about 7 miles an hour late there. If any one of these assumptions is correct, that's the distance. And when you see this from the front again, Doesn't look like it's all that much. It just looks like he's underneath it. And pitchers will get fooled by this often. Now, the one other point I want to make about this is that you can see his left arm is very bent. And the reason for that is because he realizes that he's late at some point, and he draws his hands in close to try to make up some time. He realizes he's late. He bends the lead arm, and that means that he's even later than what we measured. Not only does it cause this crazy line to go upward, in other words, when this mechanic happens, he's swinging up at about 26 degrees. So his chances of making solid contact have just been minimized dramatically. But the point of this exercise is to measure speed and time. So not only were we kind of conservative on where he actually was late, if we really think about it, and this lead arm was extended, his contact point, the perfect one where he's extended and 100% on time, is even further out in front than we measured. So I think our measurement back here of this distance is very conservative. Where he should have been is all the way to there. So make no mistake, it is very clear that when the hitter's perception of the speed and the effective velocity, which is the actual reactionary speed of the pitch, when those two things are that different, that's how much early or late a hitter is going to be.